rød. If you pronounce it Danish, it's rød. If you haven't seen it, go. It's on my Facebook page. Karl found a link and I shared it about how to pronounce the There we go. We'll put that on. Okay, late, but I did something stupid. Let's see. I don't see it sending either on YouTube, so maybe we're not up yet. An error has occurred. What? Oh, no, it's up. It's just it was on an error on my own computer. You can go turn off the light. And then you can put your microphone on after. I'm ordering Karl around.
I've seen that before, I think.
He said he's seen that before, he thinks. Okay, now I'll get the chat going, and then we're set. Okay, so I wrote in chat. Yeah, okay. I wrote in chat the reason why we're a couple minutes late. I made a little video about how I turned, you'll be the first ones to see it then, how I turned my scraps into yarn. And it was easier than I thought with this iMovie thing. So I was able to put all the little snips together. And it looked pretty good. So I just thought, quick, make a thumbnail photo and deal and upload it and deal with a description later. Anyway, the cat knocked something down. And then I started uploading it. But the thing is, I have what is it? Unlimited broadband or whatever. Unlimited. Data anyway, but the data at some point after it reaches a certain amount, it will go really slow. And slow is good enough for streaming, but I don't know. It suddenly I saw a thing on there that said it was still trying to upload, and I thought, oh shit! So I'm uploading and streaming at the same time on low bandwidth. So hopefully we're okay. But anyway, the Nella says uploading video should be separate from the live sending. I think it's done uploading because I can't see any sign on my phone that it's uploading. But if I go in, I'm not going to do it now. If I go in and click into YouTube, then it says that it's still pending. So there might be something I haven't done there. But anyway, then you can look on it. I'll try to post it somewhere. Then you can see how I did that. Nella was in a conversation. We were talking on Discord about how I was doing that, and she's trying it with cotton. This is almost all wool. There's some acrylic in here because some of those scraps had some acrylic in it, anywhere from 30% to 70%. Most of it is wool, and there's even a few little pieces of silk, not in this one and the other one, or alpaca, because whatever the fiber was. And then in all bound with it, I made pouches. So if you look at it this way, you can see the colors go into one. That was the whole skein of yarn. That's about 45 grams, I think. Maybe, yeah, the two together, no, less than that. The two together were 86 grams when I weighed them. Okay, there she goes. It uploads and then processes, then it checks it, and then you hit the publish button and it comes out. Okay, so when we're done here, I will publish it, and you can be the first ones to see how it is. I haven't added music or anything to it. It's a little bit of talk at the beginning, and then it just goes into high speed with a little pause to see the wool, and then a little talking at the end again. But mostly it's just quiet in the background. I think at one point you can hear the cat whine. If you listen really closely, you might even be able to hear my stomach go grrr. But anyway, it was just something stupid and fun because somebody was asking how I did it. I think that was on Blue Sky, so I thought I'll try to make a quick video. So when I made the second, this is the first skein. When I made the second skein, which is now this, then I just kind of filmed it as I did along. So, okay. So anyway, I have a Karl here, and he is not sick anymore. Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I'm like 95% operational.
Karl gets a beer. And if Kaya's on here, Kaya Bjørnar, I think it was Kaya Bjørnar you got this from, or was it Hannah?
No, it was from the Secret Santa thing.
Oh, it's from the Secret Santa thing. How did you like, this was your first time playing Secret Santa?
Yeah, no, it's...
I hate Secret Santa, so I avoided it. I was at work, by the way. I signed myself out of it.
The way I think about it is that I spend 150 kroner on this, and then I get this. And I got a fairly large bottle of beer.
You did?
and a pair of reindeer socks.
They're in the drawer. Go get them.
And I think that I'm not bothering to look for socks, woman.
I want you to wear reindeer socks.
And I think it's a fair trade. It's things I probably wouldn't have bought for myself, but it's nice to have.
So you like Secret Santa?
I didn't have a problem with it this time around.
Yeah.
I think some other people had some minor issues.
I don't know
but
how much into detail you want to go with that, but you can see
no,
the downsides
I'm not
anyway.
going into details. It's
Yeah,
just
no,
that
don't go into details. But you can see there's a
some
downside
people
to
are
it.
better at it than others, you could say.
Yeah. So some people will walk away feeling like they winners. Some will walk away feeling like they got screwed. The way I see it, it's 150 kroner. And how many times can I do Secret Santa in one season? Because the work will want to do it, then your friends group wants to do it, then your family might want to do it, and just.
And it's funny because
But maybe it's because I'm American. I'm
you
just
might
tired of it.
end up with a really good and thoughtful gift, and you might end up with something completely random and idiotic.
Yeah.
Everybody has at least one idiot in their friend group, so.
But you scored. So
Yeah.
this one you've had before. This is the Sheen beer. And I don't know who your. Did you ever find out who your Secret Santa was? You don't have to.
No, but I
reveal.
didn't really bother to investigate it.
No. Okay. So whoever did though, if they had actually watched on YouTube, they'd find out that he likes this one. This is Sheen. This is from where Albert? No. Why
I
do I
doubt
say
it.
somebody was from there near there? Not Albert. Albert's in Brumunddal, but.
You could strictly speak, because that's a very wedge-shaped county. You
Yeah.
can say that I'm from near there, because Morley is part of
Ooh,
Chin
good
now.
questions. Yeah.
But I don't know who lives where when it comes to YouTube people.
No, yeah, no, it was somebody Viking. Anyway, so this one's called Polarnatt, which means what, polar night?
Yeah.
Or could you say northern night or something? I don't know.
Arctic night, maybe.
Arctic night, maybe. It's a røykt porter, which is a smoked porter. Oh, it's actually in both languages here, I think. No, just the name is røykt porter or smoked porter. I det mørke årstid vil vi gjerne ha andre smaker og lukter enn I det lyse årstid. Do you want to read this? Or do you want to hear my butchered Norwegian? Okay.
Butcher Norwegian is
Okay.
understandable.
I den mørke årstid vil vi gjerne ha andre smaker og lukter enn I den lysere årstida. Polarnatt fokuserer vi på mørke, roska maltsmaker, I lag med en lett røyk tone. I can't even do the Chin dialect. Røyksmaken får vi fra malt som har blitt tørket over kirsebærved. Dette ølet tenkt på som et koseøl på mørke kvelder, eller som følge til tradisjonell røykt julemat til Dermes pinnekjøtt eller pølser. So do you want to translate that, or do you want me to butcher that too?
I can translate it, but
Yeah, you can.
then I
Otherwise, you
have
can
to
sum
see
it
the
up.
text
But
again.
yeah, I was butchering the text
It
because I need
basically
better
says
light.
that in the dark part of the year you want other tastes than you want in the summer, which sounds like an excuse for making a weird beer.
Christmas is an excuse to make a weird beer.
It's meant as koseøl, meaning you don't really have a good word for
Cozy beer. We don't have a good word for kos, no.
no.
But this is kos.
Yeah. Gemütlich in German, but no similar word
there's
in
no
English.
really. It's just basically
It's meant to be enjoyed alone or with
like
smoked
enjoy.
Christmas food like sausage or ribba.
yeah. My needle.
It's not really. Karin was complaining that she can't speak the Chin dialect, but the
No.
thing is,
No.
neither can they, because Chin is a fairly new county, and you have people in that county who speaks very close to the dialect of Bergen. The people from Central Flora speaks like that,
Ah, okay.
and then you have people who have a very close dialect to my dialect, and everything in between. And then you have a lot of people who speaks nynorsk but think they speak bokmål, so they are writing in bokmål because they think that's what they are speaking, but it's not.
Oh, you know that orthology thing that you shared? Or you told me about the one that says Stargåte. It means star riddle or something. It's like, no, it's Stargate. They is just... Anyway, that thing I posted on Facebook that I was talking earlier, that's a link I got for you. He had another one, which is really good. I'm thinking about learning Norwegian. Yeah, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. Which one are you going to learn? Oh, are there two languages? There's the book one, and then there's New Norwegian. Oh, I would like to learn the new one. Or no, the old one. Or something like that. And he's like, you have to explain that better, maybe.
Well, we have two written languages because when we got out of the union with Denmark, this is back in the time when we are in union with Sweden, but we never ever bothered to learn Swedish. We are trying to decide which direction to go. You have two guys who basically sits down and writes their own languages. Ivar Aasen for nynorsk and Knut Knutsen for bokmål. Knut Knutsen originally wanted to go all the way. He wanted to go basically have people speak Old Norse or something, a constructed language based on Icelandic. But when he discovered that that was too much work and too much of a change for people, he wanted as little change as possible. So he basically made a language that was close to how the administration spoke. That is, people who were the most influenced by Danish. So he ended up with the written version of bokmål. It's written bokmål and written Danish is pretty close. Nynorsk is more different from Danish than
Oh yeah,
bokmål
yeah,
is.
no, that's why I think I have an easier time with Danish than you do.
But Ivar Aasen, on the other hand, was looking for the places in Norway where the language was least tainted by Danish. So he spent a lot of time in my neck of the woods and a little bit north of where I'm from. So strictly speaking, nobody in Norway speaks nynorsk or bokmål. It's written languages. You write in them, but you speak some kind of dialect. My dialect is not identical to written nynorsk, but it's damn close. There is very little that separates my dialect from written nynorsk. We have some weird things in my dialect you don't have in written nynorsk. But it's things we don't really even use that much anymore. Something called palatalisering, where you... I'm not even sure when you use it.
Politisering.
If you are talking about a man or that man, you would say it like money.
Oh God, that
And
dialect.
that's not something you hear people under the age of 90 use in my neck of
No,
the
that's
woods.
pretty rare that I've heard that at all, actually. Is that maybe Tromsø or something?
I don't think I have it.
Or should I do the wrong
I'm not
state?
sure. I might be wrong about that. But
Yeah.
it's the one thing that kind of distinguishes my dialect from being pure nynorsk, or the most important thing that does that.
Yeah. Ah. Okay, so you can have that beer now. You've earned it. And it was it smoked with cherry wood? That was the thing. I was like, ooh, isn't that posh? So Karl is going to have a posh smoked porter from Kinn, Kinn.
Kinn is good brewery, and porters are almost impossible to fuck up.
Yeah.
So I'm having...
He's opening it with a knife again. If he sits closer to me, you could see it, but he insists on hiding.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of problem drawing the knife because the cat's tail wanted to be just...
Did I start? I did start 5 minutes early. I thought I started 5 minutes late. I thought it was late. I'm sitting there entering with an apology.
You're a dumbass.
I can't do the 6:30 thing. I keep thinking it's like, maybe I was trying to start at 6:15 and I did. I started early.
No, at 6:15...
Okay, start all over again. Rewind, Karl. Say all of that all over again.
No. But at 6:15 you said something like, no, we have 4 minutes to clear the couch. And I go, huh?
Yeah, to take the blankets off the couch. The cat scratched the couch. So
I thought it had something to do with the upload you were dealing with. So that you were...
I was, but if I knew I had more time, I would have stopped sweating so much. I thought we were late. Heidi Lisa gets it, by the way. So to say hi to people while you're... It did start almost 15 minutes early, yeah, because I looked at the clock, and I keep thinking 15 that we started, but no, it was 6:30. Bonus time! Well, that's okay. The chat was really flying last week, so now we have room for it. And so we went overtime just to make sure that they could to finish saying what they needed to say anyway, and it was really good to see. So, by the way,
okay.
If this is live and on day one... Oh, did you taste it already?
No, but I smelled it.
Oh, is it the cherry wood? No, so if you're watching this on the same day that within 24 hours that it was launched, you won't be able to see the chat unless you're watching live, but on day 2 you will be able to. Oh, this should be good.
Nah, the thing I'm worried about is that I don't think they only use the cherry wood. I think they also put some of the fucking cherries in there.
No, I think you're panicking for no reason at all. That smells good. I wish I could drink that. That's like a semi-sweet Guinness
We'll see.
from just by smell.
I smell
If you
cherries.
spill that in the microphones,
No, I'll try to aim for the
apparently
cat.
they're called road and they're from Australia, so Raymond would know, and he's probably laughing this whole flipping time. Secret Santa wasn't so good to you after all, was
No,
he?
it's actually good. There is no cherries.
It looks really good. It smells really good, though, to be
There
honest.
is no cherries in here, but it smells suspiciously like cherries.
No,
but there
you're
is
just
none
freaked
in the
out from
taste.
previous incidences. No, whoever Secret Santa was, then he's good for you. So, I know about 4 or 5 people that wasn't your Secret Santa, so. Anyway. No cats to see, so the beer. Yeah! Oh, no, the cat is there. He just didn't try to paw it out of his hand because I don't know why. I was going to say because you didn't have it in the bottle, but there he is with my mess
No,
over there.
I think he is just pretending that he is not there because every time he has gotten on my lap so far today, every time as soon as he gets comfortable, I have to go and do something. So no, he's just trying to be ignored.
Yeah. There you go. Let's see. Okay, we had to say hi to people since we had so much time. I can't believe I started early and didn't even know it. Yeah, we've only been going for about 4 minutes. That's okay. Like the first 5 minutes is me freaking out over trying to upload a video on YouTube because I hadn't made a little tutorial video before, but I'll go into that again in a minute. I haven't made one in a long time. One of these days I should. Well, if I knew it was going to be that easy with all the modifications on the new phone, that's iPhone 16. Maybe I can get my patterns on YouTube as well now. It's just a slideshow at that point. Okay. Anyway, so Samantha's here. She was here a little bit earlier though. She had to go, but because I actually had it up early this time. Like when she's like, I like this one too. She's like, "Woo, you got it posted super early this week." So super early means I posted it 3 hours in advance. That's like way better than my usual 20 minutes. So that was fun. Roger says, "Hi, Karen, Karl, and Kitty Cat." That's Fuzzy. Bag number 1. Have you ever heard of that group 40 bags in 40 days? So every day you get rid of a bag over 40 days. So it ends up being 40 bags in 40 days. My mom has dedicated that cat to be bag number 1. Oh, there's your Bjornar is from in Tregdes there. It's your brother-in-law, maybe your sister's behind there too. The whole family, I noticed. The whole Ordal family, and now I got sucked into this too. We're all learning French because we're going to go to a wedding in France.
Not me.
You're not going to a wedding in France?
No, I'm not learning French.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to hurt you.
The French kind of have to learn English at some point. And
Bjornara's son is getting married to a French girl.
and why else would he do it in France?
Yeah. Anyway, no, my goal there, I just noticed that everybody on Duolingo with the last name Ordal or Bjornara, or myself anyway, we're suddenly learning French, and that's horrible. I have a little heads up because of the Spanish, so the grammar is and the conjugations of the verbs are somewhat similar. But yeah, bonjour. But oh my God, no. So it sounds so funny when I'm trying to speak it. I noticed they just swallow the end of every word.
So is this bag number 2 according to
This is
your
bag
mother?
number 2 according to Mom. Yeah, my mom. Hey, look up, look up. No, but the reason I kind of want to peek a little bit about the French is when we go there for one, it's like in the middle of nowhere with not very many people, and I'd really like to know what the hell I'm eating on the menu. So that's my goal.
I'm in the kind of enviable position of being completely omnivore. I can eat literally anything now.
The French are going to find something to screw that up. I'm sure of it.
I don't think so.
Oh yes, they will.
For the longest time, I didn't eat Babybel, whatever the hell it's called,
Babybel cheese.
But I probably just had a bad one because her kids kind of forced me into eating it.
Well, I was looking at you going, how in the hell can you eat this, and sardines and all that other crap, but you can't eat a yellow cheese? It's all it is a yellow cheese.
It's a pretty uninspired cheese, to put it bloody mildly, but it's not horrible.
Oh man, but we forced you to eat it. I like that one. So we killed your story of, I
So-
like everything but Babel cheese.
No, there is literally nothing that is basically classified as food that I don't eat.
Nope. Okay, so we're going to keep saying hi. So Samantha was here. Arlene is here and from Canada. Let's see. She's in a snowstorm right now. The road's closed. We, on the other hand, that picture that I took was around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Just down the valley, actually, looking in the direction of Gudvangen. So if you can see where the fog kind of clears, that's where Gudvangen, the Viking village, is. So it looks like they had clearer skies in the village today, but we had a bit of fog up here. But anyway, you'll notice there's hardly any snow on the ground because it's been raining for a couple of days, and the snow is pretty much gone, but I'm sure it'll be back with friends and ice.
Now I'm just so happy when the snow disappears completely, because the thing with snow melting a little bit and then freezing and then melting a little bit and then freezing is so incredibly annoying.
Yeah, it is. And then you have to get your crampons on. I was watching I saw in one of these Facebook groups about Norwegians, and one of them was sending crampons back to United States because they thought that their father would really improve, like those walking on ice. It's basically just like this rubber mat with spikes on it that you just kind of stick under your shoe. But he can't find them over the United States, and I thought that was kind of weird. But there's other names for it. There's also called micro spikes and yak tracks or stuff. There's different versions of it. So when we think of crampons in the United States, or at least in the north, we're thinking of those big spike ones that you use to rock climb in
be
the ice climbing.
Extremely surprised if the comically big sporting store where I bought the sunglasses,
I know, right?
if they didn't have it, I would be very surprised.
That's what I thought too. I'm like, you guys just aren't looking hard enough. Any sporting goods store you would think would have it. So maybe they can't get it where Roger's at, though. It's pronounced snow. It is snow. I remember when Roger saw snow for the first time over there. We went to stay in Las Vegas, and we stayed in the Luxor Pyramid. I don't know how many floors we were up, but Roger will remember this. It was me and my husband at the time, and Roger. Roger had his own bed. Anyway, we woke up in the morning and we're thinking, geez, we should probably pull up the shades anyway, but the shades were up, and then we realized it actually is a thin layer of snow, but because of the shape of the pyramid, the window was covered. So then we go out, and it's like, I don't know, just before 9 a.m. anyway, and there's still like this much snow on the ground anyway, and Roger promptly builds a snowman and takes a million pictures of it. The thing was like this big.
Snow in Las Vegas can't happen that often, I think.
No, only when the Norwegians go there. Then it does. But that was probably 30 years ago almost. No, not quite. No, maybe about 20, 25 years ago or so. But it happens. So that was December too, I believe, as well.
It was snowing a little bit in Rome and Napoli when I was there.
Yeah.
Which
You have mountains there. Well,
no, it was a cold weather system from Russia that I called the Beast from the East. That basically chilled down the Mediterranean just the period when I was there.
yeah.
And the locals went completely nuts.
1997 it was. Yeah?
The taxi drivers didn't come out of the taxi. They're just sitting there in their Nero jackets. And
So Roger's really happy. He says, do you remember the Las Vegas snow? Okay, so he remembers even better. It was 1997, maybe 98. Yeah, come to think of it, I moved in 97. So it'd have to be probably around 98 or 99, come to think of it. I don't know if I went back immediately. Might have taken me 2.5 years to come back because it was expensive and I just moved to Norway. But what I was going to say also, though, that was a similar experience we had. My mom took family to see her sister from Duluth, Minnesota, all the way down I-35 to San Antonio, Texas. And this was at Christmas time, and of course, it snowed. And we're talking dust. I mean, the stuff in Las Vegas looked like a snowstorm compared to this. It was just a dust. But they called it a snowstorm because it came with wind and things. But they're all freaking out. They closed the airport, they closed the schools, they closed everything. They borrow sand trucks from God knows where and start sanding all the highways to the point where people are slipping and sliding all over the road, not because they don't have snow tires, but because the sand is so thick on the roads. And then we're sitting there with our radial tires from the north going, oh my God.
That seems to be a theme every time I travel abroad, that you have unusual weather.
Yeah.
When I was in Italy, it was snowing. When I was in Switzerland, it was windy. And the guy I was staying with had these palm trees in redware pots like this, and they all blew over. So obviously there can't be blowing wind that much where he lives, because then you would never fucking do that.
No.
And when I was in America in October, absolutely everybody and their brother came up to me and told me it was unseasonably hot.
Well, then we have the people here. We're here from was it Singapore or Philippines? I forget. They came here last winter. I was working in the village shop anyway, and a guy comes in. He's like, "I just gotta know, what does the little mean in Norwegian?" And I said, "Oh, it's a little." Why? And he said, "Because I went to the." I think I've told this story a million times before, though. He goes, "I go into the grocery store and it's like really cold." And I said, "Oh my God, it's cold out." He says, "Yeah, I know it's a little cold." Then I come in here and you say, "Yeah, it's a little cold." And I see another Viking go by and he's like, "Yeah, it's a little cold." It was like minus 15 Celsius. But he's like, "No, where I come from, this is flipping hell frozen over." Anyway, that was it was really funny. And then Nolvia says, "You brought your Elsa powers with you to Vegas." Absolutely. And there's Raymond, the guy that knows about the Rode microphones that are not pronounced Rode. If you spill that, I will kick his ass. Anyway, Raymond says, "When I was in Pennsylvania, it was dark, and I'm convinced it was just Transylvania in disguise." You might be right. Okay, we're going to say hi to more people here now. I'm having fun. Yeah, so Albert is here. He's looking into the migrate. Oh, yeah. Questions for Karl, Viking questions for Karl. The better the question, whichever one he likes best gets to have this hat, and we'll go to the end of the year. Because it's a null-bound hat, and it's wonderful.
You will go to the end of the year?
To the end of the month.
Yeah.
Sorry, we said 31st. And then we decide which one Karl likes the most. So, and you can leave it in the comments if you're watching later. Just put the question in the comments. But this one is null-bound. It is with silk and alpaca. I think it's like 20% silk, 20% marine or alpaca, and the rest is merino.
Did you have a question? Or?
I will get to there. Yeah, I was going to get there anyway, but I just wanted to say if you have a question, you can get that. It's too modern to sell in the store. So that's why I can't sell it. So we've decided to gift it. Okay. Anyway, so Albert said, let's see, I'm not sure if it was exactly a question, but it just spun up the history side. I closed my chat. Hang on a minute. I didn't close the chat on there. I just closed it on my computer. It's easier to read the computer than the phone. Otherwise, you have to watch me do this.
Yep.
Okay, and then we're back at top. Oh, no, I can't see it now. But he says he already has 2 smiths for knives and spears and boss that was in the grave, but not the sword and jewelry in it. There was something at the top from the migration period, and I can't see it on there anymore. Because when I accidentally zipped out, let's see if we can see it on the chat so you can get a real close-up of my face and my nose. Oh, yeah, but I can see it on here. Okay. I've been looking into a migration age grave from Rogaland and looking into who can make the button clasps that were in the grave. I already have 2 smiths for the knives and spears and the boss that was in the grave, but not in the sword and the jewelry in it. It wasn't quite a question, but have you know that find?
I know there is probably like 100 migration era finds in Rogaland.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if there wasn't.
Hmm.
But I don't know which specific one he is talking about, and I probably haven't heard about it even if I knew.
Send Karl a photo. That would be cool to see. Yeah, I was wondering if there was like a difference in appearance or something.
Well, it's migration era, so depending on when in the migration era, it may or may not be very Viking-like.
Then Nella is here from Finland, and Rhonda is here from the United States. James is here as well. And James, we know this when we did our homework this time. He says, "Hi, Karin and Karl. I'm trying out the Akha Globe Knot technique." All right, Karl, if you go into the hallway, there's like a little pink thing in the window that's kind of similar to one that we saw. It's not the exact same one. We knew what this was. So we had to look it up. James is always challenging me every week. So I'm like, what the hell is it's a knot. Okay, but what's this globe knot thing? Anyway, and then...
Pink box by the window, you said?
No, it's in the windowsill. There's like a little pink thing. You'll see it right away. It's been there since we moved in. I think it's some sort of a keychain. So, but anyway, it's a knot, but it's not the globe one that he made, but it's something similar anyway. The one he was looking at is much more advanced anyway. So it was kind of cool if you want to Google it and see. Ooh, You got questions building up. Yes, so keep giving Karl good Viking questions. He's feeling a little lack of Viking in the winter time because we do more needle binding in winter. This thing, okay. So he is, but this is kind of like a volleyball version of it anyway. So the one that that James is talking about is even more.
It's bigger. It has more loops.
It's bigger. His ball is bigger and it has more loops. Did you have a story about that? Not you know what that is? Slide over here so I don't have to keep turning the phone.
My father calls them apeneve, which translates to something like monkey's hand. He had a fairly big one as kind of the only the keys he used for his boat. I don't know if it was rope all the way through. He might have had a bit of cork or something in the middle because it's kind of important that those keys float. But he might also have just used floating ropes. So
this
I
one's
don't know.
paracord, which is most commonly used for these things nowadays, but it's actually not too hard to make. Well, this one isn't too complex. It's easier than they think. I think you wind the yarn 3 yarns this way, 3 rounds this way, 3 rounds this way, and then you do something and tuck it in to get it to stick together. So it's easier than it looks, but not. I think the one that he was looking at was much more difficult. Okay, and you are getting some Viking questions, and so I'll zip through really quickly. Sorry, Max is here. Charlotte is here. Charlotte, did you get the eggplants from Audra? Audra found an eggplant meme. It was like all different kinds of eggplants, and they all had names. Yeah, and we decided that James, not the James that's in the chat, of course, but the eggplant representing James might need to go see a doctor. Anyway, so Audra was going to send it to you. She saw an eggplant and thought of you, Charlotte. So Max's week has been good, except that on Wednesday after work, he ended up getting a migraine. Oh, no, that's not good. I had one last week. You don't want those. Audra is here. She is in Lithuania. Ooh! Audra's in Lithuania. Do you know what they have in Lithuania?
Yeah, Lithuanians.
And?
More Lithuanians.
And Bierzici.
Yep, that's true.
Do you have a wish list for Audra?
Not really, but I want to try more Lithuanian beer.
Let's try more Lithuanian beer.
If you find any Lithuanian beer that doesn't contain any kind of fruit or vegetable.
That would be beer for me to give to you from her. Let's see. And Amro is here. Tablet, tea, cookie, and work in progress, ready to watch. Yay! Did the Vikings eat rabbit? Is Amro's question. We might be a little bit over time if we want to cover needle binding today, but the questions we need to have. You haven't been challenged in a while. It's about time we challenge you.
I would say that the answer is probably yes, but I don't have any concrete sources about the Vikings eating rabbits. But I would think they would eat everything that has meat on it.
Oh, yeah.
And at least in the mythological stories, they seem to eat things like beaver and otter,
yeah.
And that sort of thing. And when you're willing to eat that, a rabbit should go down easily. But I don't know. I don't know of any culture. It's kind of the normally you need evidence for people to do. It's reasonable to assume that people did it because this evidence. But when it comes to people who really likes hunting and farming, they will probably eat everything unless they have a strong cultural reason not to. So I would say rabbits almost certainly. Shellfish, maybe not. I don't know. They're difficult to catch and they look like insects. The Vikings might not have been interested in them.
I didn't think about the byproduct of that. Raymond is online. He says Vikings wouldn't dare eat a rabbit. Have you seen those medieval rabbits? They carry some heavy weaponry and ride around on snails.
Yep.
And by the way, he has a thing for bunnies. So no, they would never eat a rabbit. Poor Raymond.
The medieval rabbits were something else.
Oh my God. which is medieval rabbit porn. Is that what we were looking up one day before you and I got together? And I think it
Yeah.
wasn't long after we decided we probably should sleep in the same bed.
We were, before the two of us got together, one of the things we did was sending each other random bits of medieval rabbit porn.
And then the cats are, oh, there's a whole tree that's just made up of penises. And they kind of look like snails, but nope. And then there's the cats look really freakish.
And that's the funny thing with some medieval art. It's like somebody has described a cat or a horse or an elephant to the artist, but the artist has never ever seen one. So he just tries to paint it as per described with the human face.
Yeah.
And some of them looks hilariously goofy.
They're funny. Oh my God. It's a rabbit hole. Quite literally.
And the cat problem goes far beyond the medieval time. You have that in even some of the early modern art. You have, not modern art in that sense, but artists that definitely should know better because they live in the 17 or 1800s manages to fuck up cats spectacularly.
Oh yeah. All right. People who know. Actually, I thought I don't know what I did. I switched. I thought I fixed it. Anyway, you can see here I just did it again. I switched from Dalby to Telemark and Dalby again. I don't know what I did, but you can see where the bottom loop suddenly changes direction. So I have to pick back. But then I noticed I did that a little bit earlier. I think this one is not just that. I think this one I picked up the second and the third, or the third and the fourth loop instead of the second. This I'm not going to pick back up. That's just too far back. But this will get embroidery on it because that's going to piss me off.
My ears are getting
So-
warm.
Well, this is why you're getting one beer today and not two. Anyway, so I will. Yeah, there you can see it a little bit better. I'll pick back and fix this. But this is so far back. I'm just going to embroider on top of it because it's so obvious once you see it. Okay. Anyway, okay, you got a lot of questions here. Sue says, by the way, I've had a rabbit for a few years. He humped constantly, like a rabbit, and and I had to get him a stuffed animal rabbit as a girlfriend that I had to wash every day because he got so messy. Laugh out loud, he was adorable. I should get Karl one of those toys. Just kidding. I can't help it. It was just too good. It was the joke. Not for kids. No, Novia, you're quite correct. Not for kids. Okay. I could just see Karl with a stuffed animal. We're gone into critting.
I don't need a stuffed animal, I have you.
I'm not even, yeah, that's true. I am a stuffed animal. Okay, there's some more in here. Yes, then, let's see. Susan Youngman is here in Frankfurt again. Welcome back to Frankfurt. And Karsten and Doro's here from Flensburg. Not too far from Susan now, I bet. PJ's here saying you started early, and that's when I realized, shit, I did. And I thought I was late. And Susan's here from San Diego, by the way. She's got nice weather. Anne said, any idea of how they would have prepared it? Rabbit, that is, not for the Danes. Okay, this is where you're not going to want to listen and just say, I can't see, I can't hear, Raymond. Okay, how would they prepare the rabbit, do you think?
One of the things that I found out by
Squirrel, we could say squirrel.
technology when it comes to archaeology has done leaps and bounds. And one of the things they're doing now is to analyze the food residue in the seams of cauldrons. And it turns out the Vikings ate a lot of stew. And if you already have a culture for stew or lapskaus, as we would call it in Norway, any kind of meat will add to the taste of the stew. So I can imagine that if you ever visited real Vikings, one of the things you would be served would be a stew with a random assortment of animals that they have either slaughtered on their farm or hunted, with onions, maybe with wild garlic, maybe something like turnips.
Oh, you had some, so the ocean had ocean onions, the Strandslurk they call it, or beach onion, that one that I
Yeah,
found.
but they have normal onions.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, never mind.
Different types of vegetables and different types of meat.
Okay, Raymond can now take the Nalbinding out of his ears. He stuffed it in his ears so he wouldn't have to listen. True story. I actually did go hunting once with some roommates back in college. They were going to go grouse hunting, and I thought, okay, I could come along. I've never tried this before. Why not? I have no idea how it was going to work out. This is one of the, I think I've told this story before though, but also yeah, grouse are like on a 7 year, they kind of like increase, and then on the 7th year it's like they're gone, sort of thing. And this was the year where there were no grouse around, so we hunted squirrel, and of course then one of my friends named Hunter, which you can't make that stuff up anyway. He's actually really good at preparing. He's a hunter, and he's really good at preparing meat. So he could even make bear meat taste really juicy, which is damn near impossible. Oh, it was good. Yeah, if he hit it with his car, he ate it. But anyway, he prepared the squirrel. There's not much meat on a squirrel, but that went into a stew actually, and it's a way to stretch it out. So I would think they'd do something similar.
I actually have a little hunting story. I have been hunting exactly once in my life.
Oh, we're twinsies there.
I was duck hunting. And don't worry, no ducks were injured in any way in the story. I'm visiting a friend of mine. Both me and him are what our friends would refer to as kind of gun nuts. And he has a Winchester rifle and a Star by Karl shotgun. And we are going down beneath his house. There is open field, and then you have kind of the fjord. So we are down there and just shooting at targets. When he goes, oh, I won't mention any names in this story, but people from Selje will probably know who I'm talking about. I'm not throwing too hard under the bus.
Your sister's watching.
But he has a very pronounced stutter. So he talks like this. And he turns to me and says, do you want to go duck hunting? And I go, yeah, maybe. So he has the shotgun at this point, and I have the Winchester. And obviously, when you're hunting birds, you use the shotgun. You do not use the Winchester. So I think that, okay, I'm just carrying this gun. We are not going to actually use it. And then we sneak up a hill, and then we look down at a little pond where 2 ducks are just kind of lazily swimming around. And he says, give me the Winchester. And I go, you want to do duck hunting with the Winchester? And he says, yes, I've tried to kill them so many times that I am very worried now. So I can't sneak any further. And I go, okay, fine. So I give him the Winchester. He loads the Winchester, has the shotgun in the other hand. And then, instead of taking aim and shooting, which a normal person would do, he jumps up and screams, and then runs down towards these 2 ducks while firing basically on the move with both guns. And these are long guns with pretty heavy recoil, like that. So I see the entire pond erupts in splashes of water, and then I see 2 ducks just kind of lazily flying away. Quack, 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 quack.
Ducks, not Raymond, you're right. And not Raymond,
So,
not rabbits.
Ducks, not Raymond.
Not Raymond. You were
So
not
the
hunting
rabbits
Raymond.
are okay. And so are the ducks, by the way, in the story.
So what does his stutter have to do with the story?
Nothing. It's just
On behalf of everybody with a stutter, you suck,
it's
man.
just a true element that kind of.
You're such a dick. Okay, anyway,
By the way,
Kaya says yes, by the way, so she knows this one. Yes, dot.
by the way,
Yeah.
you remember the time when you were calling me when I was on the boat?
Yeah.
That's the guy I was talking to.
Ah, I didn't hear a stutter off
he
of him.
doesn't have a stutter anymore.
Must
So
have been the
now that he is a grown-up, he has grown completely out of it.
Ooh, pulled my yarn a little too loose. It's Lopi yarn, so if I pull it a little too... I shouldn't do long pulls with Lopi yarn. I should do short pulls because eventually it'll come apart. Let's see, there's some more. James says, by the way, that the globe knot that he's doing is on Shutterstock. That might have been the picture that we saw. Actually, it was like a green knot. Let's see. Roger looked up the Las Vegas photos. It was December 6, 1998. Oh, okay. Then we got back there sooner than we thought. I thought it took me 2 to 3 years to get back to the United States after initially moving here because I wasn't planning on moving here quite so soon. So when but that was just out of the way things went anyway. That's how it went. So we wasn't really saved up for anything much, and of course I had to survive. Can't work for the first. I think it took me 7 months before I was allowed to work. First the 3 months that we waited, and then I got married, and then the application had to go through for like a green card type thing over here, and then I could finally work. So I had to save up for that.
98 was a
So that was the year we didn't.
horrendously...
That was 97 though. That's the year we didn't go back. So 98 at the very end, I see. So it would have been after 1 full year, I think, in Norway, a little over a year.
97 was fun. 98 was a horrendously boring year for me.
Oh, you should have been in Las Vegas. That's where all the snow was.
Yeah, I know. I had 3 subjects I needed to mic up from my year as the Norwegian videregående school system. I was my first course is chemistry and process, and my second course is chemistry and laboratory. And then I took the allmennfaglig påbygging in 97. That was a good year. But in 98, I had to take up 3 classes from my year of chemistry laboratory. So basically, I'm sitting at home in Selje and studying. And then I go to Bergen at the end of the year to take 3 exams. The subjects were microbiology, computers, called EDB back then, and microbiology, computers, and physical education. Did you know that if you just skip all your physical education, all you have to do is to do a theoretical test? If I'd known that before, I would never ever have shown up to any of those classes.
Oh my God. I see Albert, by the way, said this is now way back. Now we got to kind of catch up. On the way back from the store, he saw a moose in the field on the way to the bus stop. I got to say, yeah, because once you're over on the other side of Hemsedal, and then of course this is Brumunddal, closer to Hammer, that's where I start seeing moose more often. I don't see them on this side of Hemsedal mountain.
Yeah, they are coming, but
I mean, it's possible. It's just deer, yes. Reindeer, yes. Up on the mountain, yeah.
the
But down
thing
here,
is,
maybe just deer.
because of hunting and licenses, it's very easy to regulate where you have moose and where we don't have it. And there was a worry when the moose started to spread into Western Norway that it would, because what we are hunting for here is red deer. And you have red deer here, and you have moose in the eastern part of Norway.
Yeah.
And people thought for the longest time that you can't have both of them at the same time because they eat the same things. But apparently that works fine. They are not fighting, and they are not completely overeating the forest. It's just that you have to calculate the number of animals to the total number instead of the number of moose, full stop.
Yeah.
So it's the number of moose and deer, full stop.
I was going to say, okay. By the way, when Anne asked her question that wasn't anything to do with rabbits, she also wanted to point out that she was not talking about eating Danes.
What?
She said I didn't read that quite correctly, though. Any idea how they prepared it? The animal, not the Danes. It was a good joke at the time. Okay, and then Kira's here, by the way, from Bergen. She's finally able to watch live again. Yay! And then, let's see. I have to kind of skip ahead. Lindsay's here. Heidi's here from up north. Michelle Linda's here. Max says, besides, I'm using Russian Stitch 2+2+2, working flat based on what I saw in a video a couple days ago. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's related to the one that we're doing, 2+2+2, except for the one that we're doing now is Telemark, which has 1 loop on the thumb and 2 behind. You would be doing it, no, yeah, sorry. You have 1 loop on the front, and you're lifting 1 loop and going around another loop. So that's your 3 sets. So if you had, instead, you had 2 loops on the thumb, and you were lifting 2 loops and going around 2 more loops, then you'd be doing what Max is doing.
I don't know about
That'll make
eating.
more sense when I get back. You're gonna have to put Nalbinding back in Raymond's ears if you bring it up one more time. But we do have questions.
No, I wasn't going to say anything about
Oh, okay.
rabbits, but I don't know about eating Danes, but the Dutch ate our prime minister once.
You love that story. And by the way, speaking of Holland, Garcia's here. She's back. And there's Kaya saying bonjour, so she's learning, of course, too. We're all learning French. You have no idea how much your son impacts your family. Your son's choices in life.
Every time somebody asks me if I speak French, I just shake my head and say, non habla español.
Oh my God. Google speaks French, so you can always translate the menu. Yeah, I can. But that's not nearly as fun.
Now, if the French are as good cooks as they want us to believe, it shouldn't matter what I order on the menu. It should be good anyway.
Roger says, Rana and Contadora on the menu. Rana is the name that I used to have in game when I met Roger the first time. One of the names I had, character names I had, and Rana means frog in Spanish. And when I was taking Spanish in high school, I was La Rana Encantadora, which means the enchanted frog. And then, of course, it's on the menu, he says. So there's a tie in there. Roger sent a photo. I'll have to open that up in a little bit. Okay. Raymond's got the goat joke. No, he and Outer are both laughing over Stargate. The movie Stargate has a circle over the A in gate. And if you were from our side of the world, it would be Stargate, which means star riddle. So he wanted to know if it was a mystery movie in that little clip that I have on Facebook there. If you weren't actually talking about cheese, says PJ, maybe I can dig out my hearing aids. Oh, we were actually talking about cheese for a little while. No, I'm talking faster. Oh, when we were talking about Babel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about cheese for just a few seconds there.
The one thing I didn't eat. I know I ate it.
Nella says, the international students absolutely love snow, but many don't understand that it can be dangerous. And when they are told that, you are like the buzzkill. Oh, yeah. No.
Dangerous?
It can be. Yeah. Well, she's in Finland. But in Duluth,
talking about avalanches? Or?
Yeah, well, here we got it. No, they don't have I don't know if you have avalanches that many in Finland, but I would assume the cold, not dressing properly for it.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the snow. That's the temperature.
Yeah, she'll go into detail though further down, I'm sure. But that's what I was thinking of anyway, because every year they always find somebody in Minnesota that was too drunk to open the lock on their door on the way home, so they just took a nap on their porch swing instead, and then the next thing you know, or in a snowbank.
Yeah.
And then they find him the next day and slightly frozen, not quite retrievable. So it's hypothermia is a thing. Dress for it. While I was at work, says Max, I was practicing some pioning and learning some songs on my ocarina. I was gonna look up ocarina again. Pioning is actually quite a bit like slip stitch crochet, but there's a trick to it because you have to. If you were going to do several rows of this, you have to do it loosely enough and evenly enough that you can do the next row.
Why did you want to look up the ocarina again?
Because she talked about it last week too, and I don't know what machine.
Just ask me because I read up on it like crazy because of the fucking Hungarian.
Okay, tell me about the fucking Hungarian's ocarina.
Do you remember the thing that makes the sound?
Ah, it's that. Okay. Oh, cool.
That's a water-filled ocarina.
Yep. So we have one in the window. Karl loves that instrument.
I hate it with the burning passion of 1,000 people.
I will bring that out again.
But we had a Hungarian guy. He's a very good salesman, but he keeps selling the most annoying shit you can imagine.
Okay, now I have to get it.
So he was selling this water-filled ocarina, and it is a very easy instrument to use. So even a small child, like a 5-year-old, can just buy one, and they're cheap as fuck, and then hold it up to his lips and go. And when I'm guiding, and I have kids in the group, every time they breathe out, I hear. So I wanted to strangle the bloody guy. But what I do instead is that I research the authenticity of water-filled ocarinas. The ocarina is one of the oldest instruments in the world, so it exists basically everywhere in every culture. But the one with water in it is a medieval thing.
Why don't you like these, Karl? A whole bunch of kids running around the village while you're trying to guide and you hear nothing but 40 of these.
Imagine. This was also back when we had guided tour every half hours, and we didn't have that many guides. So some days,
We're going over time today,
on
too.
paper, I have like 7 tours. 7 tours. And then I have kids making that sound while I am guiding. So I have to scream at the top of
Like that?
at the top of my lungs for 45 minutes, and that is like exactly the opposite of fun.
Okay, we got to keep moving because we got a lot of questions. We will go over time today if we want to look at the yarn.
Oh, by the way, I
Yeah.
like the Hungarian guy, but his
cute, isn't
choice,
it?
his choice in
whistle.
wares is so fucking annoying. He has really cool Hungarian horse bows. He has those fucking things, and he has whips, ox whips. Have you heard the sound of somebody snapping an ox whip?
Oh, God, yeah. And then there's
So
always somebody
have
who needs...
I, like 100 times a day when the fucker was selling them. And also there is a safety concern about that. Somebody whipping a 3-meter long cord that breaks the sound barrier at the end. You can't really have that in a village with people.
No.
And it sounds like a gunshot every fucking time somebody manages to do it correctly. So, he's not my favorite Hungarian.
I knew a Viking in East Norway over in the Oslo side who bought one of those, and he decides it was a nice hot day, so he was going to look pretty tough, so he goes up on the field, takes off his Viking shirt, and he's there in his Viking pants, barefoot, and he's got a whip, and he starts cracking the whip like mad, and as he goes in a circle and cracks and cracks and cracks, and sure enough, the back end of it whips him in the back a few times, and that was the end of that.
Yeah,
It's dangerous as hell. And then, imagine if there were people next to him as well.
I have to say this guy must have been a moron.
That wasn't his most brightest shining moments in life, shall we say.
Well, it's a dumb idea to do this to begin with, but you should be, if you have even a little bit of motor control, be able to make sure that the whip whips away from you.
Yeah, it's quite a long whip, though, by the way.
You do this, not that.
No, I think that's what it was. Or anyway, but since then, not because of that incident, but because of several similar type incidents or whatever, most markets won't allow you to sell whips anymore. So.
It's also of dubious authenticity for the Viking Age.
Yes.
But the problem I'm having with them is a straight up safety concern. Because if you give idiots the capacity to inflict pain, idiots will inflict pain. And the whip can definitely inflict pain, and if you sell it to an idiot, you are in trouble.
I'm convinced that I cannot do the Telemark stitch without wanting to flip over to Dalby. My fingers want to do Dalby. There's only one difference.
It's the little Swede inside of you who wants to go further east.
Yes, so. Okay. Keep going
This
down
was good
here.
bear, actually.
Maggie Griggs is here. Yeah, I can tell you're enjoying it. He's getting more and more long-winded. Hello from Colorado, says Maggie. Okay, Michelle Lind, question. Speaking of cheese, did the Vikings have cheese, and what kind, and can you get an equivalent today?
I think they had cheese.
Yeah. I know they make it at Borda. They make in the museum there. Karin makes a cheese that she says they had. It's similar to a goat's cheese. But
I am pretty sure there is some kind of... I have to double check this because...
Ooh, you got him.
No, I don't remember my source. But I seem to think I've read somewhere that the Vikings thought the moon was made out of cheese, and Odin's ravens eat the moon, and then it gets smaller, and then it grows back again. But I'm not sure if I'm confused, or if this is actually something from the... I don't know where it would be in the sources, if it actually exists. But I'm pretty sure they must have had cheese. They've had cows for 1,500 years. They are...
well, and you can get goat. I mean, goats they had too. And
everybody in Northern Europe is lactose tolerant at this point, pretty much. Because it's kind of a staple of your diet, that you eat a lot of... you drink a lot of milk, and you eat milk products. And milk products would almost certainly include cheese. But I honestly don't know, and I am also having trouble knowing how to find out.
We're gonna write that one on the list. I know that when I took a Viking food course with Karl in oh God, well before the pandemic anyway. One of the things, along with the ocean, the beach onions, as they would call it, they're little teeny tiny onions. Another one we learned how to make was cheese, and then of course there was a butter that we made with Ramslurk. Or I need to get you a piece of paper, and we can write down that you need to look up cheeses. Can you hear that pen over there? Viking cheese. Karl has homework.
Yeah.
This is good. I like it when Karl has homework. Okay, next question because you got a lot. What Pruda wants to know, and hi Pruda, by the way. Pruda's blue because she can kick people out that don't behave. Okay, Viking question. What specialized clothing did they wear for snow? It is a long time since we've talked about that. Well, this is a good start, we think.
The problem we are having here is that people are generally buried in their finery for basically whole life. You're going to be in somebody's hall and having parties for the rest of your life when you're being buried. So they're expecting that the gods have already provided their heating bill, so you are not sent to the next life in your outdoor clothing.
I'm sorry, you're saying it's warm where they're going in the afterlife?
At least cold is not the problem you have to deal with.
No.
Even in Helheim, where they specifically say that there is cold. But there are, I'm pretty sure, references to bear cloaks, so cloaks made out of bearskin.
Bear, not beer.
And that would obviously be very warm. This is kind of, you've seen my Viking clothes, the ones I use when I'm in the village, where I have the cape with the sheepskin over my shoulder. There is no clear evidence that the Vikings actually did that. The reason I keep doing it is because it is so practical that I can't for the life of me understand that the Vikings didn't.
Waterproof too, for the most part.
It's waterproof, completely. The issue is that my sheepskin gets really heavy and wet when it's raining, but I don't get wet, which is kind of the point. And then I just either put it in a warm room or I put it near the fire and it dries out and it's ready for the next day. I am close to sure that the Vikings must have done something similar, but the evidence from archaeology doesn't support it because almost everything you find of textiles is grave finds.
So there's a little bit more. Bjornara chimes in on that one. He says, while it probably was not a very typical set of clothes, he has tested out the baggy pants, so the roost pants. And they work wonderful in deep snow, as the snow doesn't melt and you can just brush it right off. Thoughts? You agree? Yeah? You don't wear the roost books, you have the Torsberg pants.
Yeah, but I take whatever.
Yeah,
the way I get pants is that somebody makes pants but underestimate the fatness of the person that they were made for.
According to Karl, I mean, in comparison to Karl, everyone's massively overweight.
Yes.
Because he's like a twig.
So they make pants for somebody. That person gives the pants back and says, these pants are too small. And then they go, huh, who fits in these pants? Oh, I know, Karl.
And skinny little guy over there that doesn't eat.
Usually either for free or at a very good discount.
Yeah. Nope, so it appears to be skinny. Except
so if somebody fucks up the Russian pants, I will be wearing Russian pants.
Although the pants you're wearing now are actually Torsberg pants, but because we haven't, well, since the pandemic, we're starting to come more and more people selling clothing nowadays through the summer, but they weren't for a while. So two or 3 years ago, we absolutely had to get you a pair of pants.
Yep.
The smallest size we could wear. It's not suitable for the work environment if he lifts up his tunic in those pants. They just fall.
Yeah, but that's because of the belt loop you refuse to fix.
I fix it, but you keep breaking it.
Bullshit.
I fixed it twice.
You just want penis access.
Not for kids! There was a bearskin comment on there, yeah. Bear skins were found in Snartamo grave, Snartamo 5. Pruda says she accidentally made a pair of pants that were way too big, so she promised them to Greg. Oh, that goes the other way around, too, then. And Nella adds that there has been cheese in Poland for 7,000 years. So there you go. I mean, we know they were.
No, I would say it's very likely. The problem I'm having is that I need a concrete reference to either a find or something in the sagas or the literature. I would say I'm almost certain I had cheese. I have no idea what the cheese looked like.
And then you got Raymond and Audra having Bali babies over here. Bear Clothes says, Raymond, not a Bintang shirt from Bali. And then Audra actually loses her shit over the Bintang. I have to look this up. Let's see. Gommeloost is a Norwegian cheese, says Roger, that may be the oldest Norwegian cheese and dates back to the Viking age. The name translates old cheese, queso viejo.
Yeah. Gommeloost is weird. It's very unlike every other type of cheese.
We had that a couple of years ago at Christmas time.
We've done it on Weird Norwegian Food, but
maybe 2 years ago.
It's
in December.
If I just tasted it and I knew nothing else about it, I would cheese would be on the top 10 list of what I guessed it was.
Okay, then we get the next question on here because there's a bunch.
Actually, brain matter from a dead Mexican would be higher on the list than cheese.
Actually, this might be a tie-in. Lindsay says, oh, so we have clear evidence that Vikings traded with people that traded with China and India, cardamom, silk, and there's some Viking-style finds in the Middle East.
Okay, now we are moving down the road of fireworks and katanas, but...
Okay, do you want to add? I've already said we're going to, I mean, it's 7 minutes left. We're usually going over time. There's a lot of questions and chats left, so... And we still haven't looked at the yarn. It's going to be a quick one, but this isn't the first week of Telemark, so. Anne says, how did they treat their slaves? Were there only strangers used as slaves or also Vikings? Oh, I missed one in there too.
That's kind of a complicated issue, but if you look at it from a practical perspective, you don't want slaves that would be able to basically run away and then go back to their people and be accepted as free persons as soon as they get back. Because that would be too easy. So if I live in Gudvangen and my slaves are from Voss and I have family at Voss and I are accepted as free people in Voss, all I have to do is to get back to Voss. But if my slaves are from Ireland, they will have to 1. Steal a boat. 2. Learn how to use it. 3. Find out where the fuck Ireland is. And 4. Get back to Ireland. So if you are from Ireland and you're taken to Gudvangen as a slave, your prospects of running away are a lot worse than if you are basically local. Obviously, the same thing is true for people from Sweden, for instance. If they were taken to Gudvangen, particularly if they were taken by ship, they would have no idea how to get home. But generally speaking, your slaves are more likely to develop loyalty to you the further away they are from. Kind of inverse logic there, but the harder it is for you to come up with a plan on how to get home and then work towards that plan, the more likely you are to give up the whole thing and just stay with your captors. The Vikings wouldn't have any principled reasons against using other Vikings as slaves. They would happily do that. I don't think race enters into it at all. I think if they found a practical reason to enslave people from Askøy, they would happily do that. The problem is that people from Askøy can very easily get back to Askøy, and you really don't want that. So people from Ireland or Portugal or North Africa is better than people from Askøy, because their options, their potential for running away is much lower. But I'm speculating wildly here, as you might understand. And good bear.
Oh yeah, no, he's having fun now. He's into the almost slurring. Lindsay says, by the way, do we have evidence that Vikings actually made it to China and India?
No, probably not. There is a small Buddha statue in Birka, which they have placed in northern India. The origin of the statue is from northern India because it has a particular type of earlobes that are only make on Buddha statues in that area. But most likely this is a consequence of the Vikings trading with the Byzantines and the Indians trading with the Byzantines. The Vikings wouldn't have to go all the way to India to get this statue because it could go to Constantinople and the Vikings could buy it there. Obviously, the idea of Vikings going to India isn't completely unheard of, but it's unlikely.
Okinawa question. The beautiful little flower, or the bird, I mean, that Roger in California thinks is nice. Oh, no, I didn't put in very much water in here. No, it's just, oh, there we go. Anyway,
Those fakes.
I know, it's so fun.
Burning passion.
And it's going like right in the microphone, so I'm pretty sure they hate
I
it now
know that
too.
when the same Hungarian was selling in Viking, one of the local guides got so annoyed with him that he broke all of his fucking Ukrainas. The problem is that then Viking, basically as a business, had to pay him for all of the ones that were broken. So he made a better profit than he would do if he was just able to sell them freely. So it's better to just tell him to fuck off.
Oh, there's some in here we should go into before I get to the
And
next.
I like this guy.
Let's see. I don't know. I don't think it's debatable if they knew how to make furs. It's more of a question of if they made them or if they used them as covers or blankets. Yeah, there's a weaving technique that you could do.
Yes.
And wait, got more here. I have seen a grave that had a cloak with a rabbit skin on it, but I don't know what that grave was, says Albert. Got more. Bjornara says Mariana Vedler had a seminar on Viking silk once. She had plenty of cool books on textiles. Fun fact, strips of silks found in Norway has the same pattern as silk found in silk draperies in Italy. Did not know that. Vedler speculates that Vikings traded as far east as the Caucasus, if I'm not saying that wrong. Kira said, did a quick Google. Viking Tidsmuseet claims that they had cheese in the Viking age, but the website did sadly not cite a source. And I have to check because Bora also claims.
Now this is the thing, because you have a mental schema of things.
Mm-hmm.
And my mental schema of the Viking Age absolutely includes cheese. But I don't know why it includes cheese. I don't know how I know this.
Mm.
So unless I can find some kind of source that can substantiate or substantiate it, I can't really say for sure that the Vikings had cheese.
Raymond says their statue was the statue that was brought to the Vikings from India by the Monkey King. Monkey and Triptych. Oh, that must be the tag thing. I have to look back at that. Yeah.
It's a Buddha. It's not Hanuman.
In the TV show Viking says soon as Ragnar got addicted to opium because of his Chinese slaves. I remember that. Would that have been possible, or do you think that was just TV stuff?
Everything is possible, but that is almost certainly complete TV stuff.
Mm. Their analysis, there are theories, quote unquote, that the Proto-Finns would have traded with the Nepalese because the rami fiber is easier to process than the European nettle. Kira says, isn't there quite a bit of fur in the Maman fighting? I believe there is.
There are some finds where you have a residue of fur around the edges of things. But having a whole skin over your shoulder like I do, I don't know if there is any evidence of that.
No. And then PJ says, in order to have cheese, we kind of back and forth on these ones, they must be keeping cows. So did the Vikings keep cows in that one? You did state, yes, they did.
For sure, yes.
Or sheep, yes. Sheep as well, and goats. And Raymond says they probably would have goat cheese. Goats, she says as well. Let's see. Albert says, Kira, I think that one of the graves I am thinking about is the one other I have read about looking into. Oh, but there's one other that I've read about that I'm looking into. Sorry, it's hard to read at this distance. Lindsay says, I have, quote, Viking spice mix that has dill, grains, paradise, mustard powder, and fennel seed. How much would these spices have been used day to day? Well, we know they had salt. We know they had Ramsons.
Well, I don't even know for sure that they had salt.
Didn't they import that? Or
they might have.
Yeah.
But
or
then
just
again,
use seawater.
if you eat a lot of seafood, you get salt. You get enough salt anyway.
That's true.
So
and pepper.
Horrendously expensive in the Viking Age,
yeah.
But it's possible to get. Everything that exists in Constantinople could theoretically exist, at least among the higher classes in Norway.
Mm.
So glass, silk, whatever the hell. But I honestly don't for sure know anything about spices in the Viking Age. Unless you consider Angelica plants to be spices, which
Kari
they might have
Helland
been
is her
used
name.
as.
She works at Midgard Viking Center anyway. She has been doing studies on food for quite a long time. Another one is Daniel Sarah. He's
Yeah,
from Denmark, but I think he lives
the
in Sweden,
the thing is,
maybe Norway.
I don't really care how long they've been doing it. It's a matter of, do they have any kind of sources that can be traced back to the Viking Age?
Yeah, they actually
It's
study it.
it
So
boils down to how do you know the thing that you know?
yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've been doing Viking for 30 years.
No. They studied it and did courses
Yes,
in
but
it.
I don't care. It's the
Yeah.
sources
That's what I
want to
mean. There
know.
would be listed sources, what they found and what they didn't find. I don't know which ones were specifically of it.
Yes,
But those two people I know have studied it and
yeah,
listed
that's
as best they
fine. But
can.
unless they have sources,
Yes,
I
they
don't
have
really
sources.
care how long they've done
Yeah,
it.
no, they have sources. It's just a matter of for which.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I need to know the sources. I
Yeah.
don't care about the people.
No, I'm not saying they found. I'm saying they've studied it. Okay. Anyway, you get more questions. Yeah. So about the, yeah, we asked about that. Did they have this as an instrument for their music? Did we
They
answer
had
that?
ocarines, but they didn't have the water-filled ocarina.
That was okay.
Or
Yeah, the
at
little
least
ones. The
ocarinas existed in Europe at the time. I don't know concretely of
actually,
any
I have
Viking
one of those
finds,
too.
but
The little clay ones. Or
almost certainly yes.
it's a little.
Leirgauke in Norwegian.
Yeah, I have one of those too. I can dig it out. I think I know exactly where it is. Let's see. Oops, it just jumped in the chat. I'm trying to go backwards because there's quite a bit here. Further down, further back. Yep, there we are. Slaves, we got that bit. And then we're talking about happy rabbits. So, Karin, a bit off topic, but have you tried using bamboo yarn for Nalbinding or peoning? I've never tried it before, but out of curiosity, is it worth the effort? If it's worth the effort, I have. I made little scrubbies because I thought bamboo would be better to use than cotton. A long time ago, and this is when I was still staying in the Viking house all the time anyway, and coming back and forth, and it was an easier way to quick clean your face with these little scrubbies that you could, or face pads that you could just wash. And it's basically just like making a rosette, so you can use you can use a yarn length long enough that you don't have to splice to make just a little rosette about that big to clean your face with. So I would use Malmen stitch or maybe Broden, and I used bamboo yarn for that, and it's very similar to cotton. It works very similar to cotton, but if you were going to do something bigger than that, then you could check and see what the knitters thought of it. Does it pill more, or is it stronger? That kind of thing, and does it get softer with wear? But I thought it was more similar to cotton than linen, so absolutely give it a go. Obviously, you're going to have to think about your splicing technique that you have to use for that because it doesn't felt, so you can't use the typical spit splice method. Oh my God, Karl's going down tonight. Raymond says, I've tried bamboo yarn and it's very light, much lighter than in weight than wool, and it does seem to felt together okay. All right, I did not try that, but then again, little face pads I didn't need to. Ooh, that's another good one. Ha, Karl, this is your week for questions. Okay. Let's see. Next one. I'm a very proud descendant of the Dutch, says Peruta, who ate their prime minister. There's here from Kansas going to be in the negative temperatures this week and plenty of indoor time to work on projects. Yeah, there's that was the other thing too. You were on your way back from Selje and you thought you were going to get caught in some nasty weather, but it went to Ålesund. It went just north.
Well, it hit north of us before I left Selje. It was.
And I hinted about your boat ride on the way back, so you might want to talk about that.
It wasn't that bad.
Just a little cold.
You have two pieces of open sea. There is a tiny one right after Selje, which is basically Stadhavet, but it's like 1 minute, so it's survivable for everybody. But then you have Stafjorden and Frøysjøen. I mean, we got to Stafjorden. I told over the PA system that it was going to be pretty bad, and I think it was. But I don't. Well, I theoretically get seasick, but this isn't enough to get me seasick. But it's not fun to be in a boat full of people when most of them are barfing enthusiastically around you. So I noticed that the weather was bad, so I just went to sleep.
Mm. Yeah, so when he says, yeah, it was a little bad. For a guy who rides that boat often, anyway.
Yeah, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but I have to go back to 97 to remember one that was actually a lot worse.
So if you're not from here, it was nasty. But if you're riding it all the
Yeah,
time, it was
if you
a little
easily
bad.
get seasick, it was nasty. Or if you don't like to watch people barfing, it's nasty.
So were they? Yeah, because we went over there before Christmas anyway. Just before Christmas, it was a wavy in two spots
Yeah,
that even I could feel, but there were kids puking everywhere
yeah, but
and cats
that
whining.
was,
Not my cats though, thank God.
I hate to say it, but that was nice weather.
Yeah, that there you go. So if you were foreign, probably what you just went through would have killed them.
And imagine 3 times as bad as when we went on Christmas.
Oh, I wonder why that is. That's right. I can't persuade my homespun. See, PJ says, Raymond, I can't persuade my homespun to splice, and that's pure and definitely not superwash. No, I missed something there. Okay. Anyway, then this one, I really like this question. Nolvia says, did Vikings ever ride on reindeer as if on horse? I recently saw a video of someone riding a reindeer. They were probably from Finland.
I have heard nothing about it, so I am tentatively I want to say no. But
I thought they
everything,
had it like as a sport, kind of an obscure sport thing like dwarf tossing. I don't only Finland.
if it is so obscure that it wasn't written down, then for all I know, they might have done
Should not use the word
everything as
dwarf.
an
That's not good.
obscure sport that wasn't written
Yeah.
down.
No, but I saw so you don't think they would have ever even tried?
I think you have
I mean, you could
India.
ride a moose. I would imagine that thing's like a horse.
Yeah, but you can't really ride the moose. You
No.
have to be Swedish to even try. But the thing is, if there are sources, I stand corrected. But you have crazy people in every culture. There will be some idiot who thinks, hey, wait a minute. I can ride a reindeer. I don't even need reins. I can just grab it by the horns and turn it as I see fit. That idiot is born at least once in every generation. So I'm sure there was somebody in the Viking Age who tried it. But I'm sure there was somebody in the 60s who tried it. It doesn't really make it a
Okay.
60s thing.
We're at 82 minutes. So I'm going to take a quick yarn break, and then we can get back to your question since we're on overtime because people who are here for yarn are waiting too long. So
Okay. I need a
take your
smoke break
your
anyway.
quick break, and we're playing with a Telemark stitch, so there isn't much new to learn there because we've been playing with it for 2 weeks already this month, and we'll do it at least one or 2 weeks more, I think. Let's see, there we go. So you can see I have a pile of projects there I was going to show you. Not related to the Telemark stitch, unfortunately. Okay, so this is Telemark, and I'll show you why my thumbs keep wanting to go back to Dalby, because I've used the Dalby stitch a lot more than the Telemark stitch. It's just a personal preference, nothing else. And I don't really know why, but habits. So this one you're working off the 3 loops on the end. So 1, 2, 3. This first one goes on your thumb, and then you're working the second one here, and the third one here. So, and then the yarn goes in front. So for this one, when you're doing Telemark right, all your stitches are going this way. Whereas if you're doing Oslo, for example, they go this way. So it might be a little confusing at first, but you pick up, that's your F1 connection, and then you lift this second loop up, pick up the third one from behind, and then go back and pick that second loop up again. Then go under the thumb loop and over the yarn loop. Because you're going over, over the leader yarn. And because you're going over the leader yarn, that's why your stitches are going this way, and that also creates something called a braided edge. Commonly called a braided edge, I should say, or a plaited edge. So there, another way to do this, you do your F1, you lift this one up, and you can put it on your finger if you want to so that you can grab that third one more easily, and then take it off your finger that way. Go under the leader yarn, under the thumb loop and over the leader yarn. So that is Telemark. The reason I keep wanting to switch back to Dalby, which I notoriously did on the last one, is because the only difference between Telemark and Dalby is this is Dalby. This is going under this yarn instead of over. So that's why I keep screwing it up. And to show you a more close-up, I did fix the other mistake that I made. We're going the wrong way briefly. It's a problem when I'm in Nalbinding and do YouTube at the same time. But this is a bigger mistake. I think I mixed up my second and third loop. I think I took them out of order, so that it did that. And you can see on the back side too, right there. It's a little harder to see, but color seems to be blending in well. But right there, it's like extra big. So this one will bug me because it's if I hold it back, my eye goes right to it immediately. So this one I'll probably put a little spiral on it. It's easy enough to hide with embroidery, but there's no way in hell I'm going to go back and pick that. So let's see. Then I'll show you briefly what I've got here. This is the, what I was talking about at the beginning of the sending when I thought I was late was turning, let's see, I lost one of the things already. Turning, you save your yarn scraps. If you have carders and the spinners, save these little pieces that you have because you can repurpose them into yarn, which is quite fun to work with. But I made a little video as to how to do that. I was just, somebody asked a question when I posted my project, and they wanted to know how I did it. So I said the next time I would when I made the next skein, I could take little footage of it. And then it turned out to be much easier to cut and paste it together than I thought with the iMovie on the new phone, the iPhone 16. So, so I did. I made a little video of it, and then I try to upload it just before. I think I have to publish it right after this. But so if you want to see that, keep an eye out for it as to how I did it. But this is the yarn that was made. There was one other one, but I think I dropped it or it fell somewhere. Yeah. No, it fell. It's hiding. It's under a computer or something. I don't know. Anyway, but it was at the beginning I showed it. But this is about 43 grams maybe. And this is about 43 grams as well. So this is what it looks like. But these ones, these little bags that I make, they're all made out of that kind of yarn. But you can get quite a bit of this, and then that's what I was kind of calling free yarn if you need a catchphrase for it. So yeah, you can use those. And there's a little video I'll post about that as to how to do it. I should be able to link that in a needle binding group without too much diversion from topic. I made a hat. This is for the guy who delivered the wood. I have to bring that to the shop for him. This is out of reclaimed wool. So if you have an old sweater or something that you don't like or got holes in it and you just don't want to fix it anymore, etc., or you found it at a thrift store and really like the wool, you can rip it and reuse the wool. This has not been blocked yet. So the wool, when it has been, this is what that is, when it has been ripped up from a knitting project or a crochet project, it'll be very kinked usually. It's starting to get unkinked now, but when that happens anyway, it does have a little bit of an effect. It makes it a bit more spongy. But I might steam block that anyway, or I might just choose to keep it because it has kind of a cool effect. And then one more project before Karl comes back in and we get back to Viking questions. This I haven't posted in a long, long time, and I thought I need to pick it up and do it again. This has actually got no pink in it. It's this yarn. But there are pieces of pink coming through. And why would I block a project? The reason I would is if my stitching was a little bit lumpy because I didn't stretch it all into place or something. Or maybe I was a little loose on one stitch and even on another. I can steam block it by just adding, you put a wet cloth over the work and then you just take an iron and do up and down. And it introduces steam into the project and it makes everything lay smooth. All your stitches suddenly look magically uniform. You don't have this like little lumpy look to it. So it makes a huge difference anyway in appearance. But other things, like these bags, I would not steam block them for the wool because I love the texture of them. It's kind of what you get when you're using this recreated yarn. So sometimes if I want that, rough look, I would not steam block it. But if I want it to lay nice and smooth, then I would. This one wouldn't probably need steam blocking because it's pretty uniform on its own. It is possible if I did not screw up the loop though, that steam blocking would fix that a little bit, but it is actually the wrong loop taken there, so there's no way to really hide it. Okay, so this one I was going to show you. The reason there's pink flecks coming through is because these are thrummed, and I have not done thrummed in a long time. So there you go. Cold people, put your hand in there. It wasn't enough to make a mitten. It's massively huge, but it has to be because this is really holding close to your hand. So these ones I will post again because I have not done thrummed in many years. I don't think there's any evidence of thrumming in the Viking Age, but who knows? I think this is a Newfoundland thing. But you can either cut little pieces of wool and stick them in your needle binding as you go, or there's another way to do it. It's a little bit faster, and this one I would have to make a video for because the tutorial I have does not show this one. You can loop it as you go through, and then you hand me the scissors over there, Carl, and the little doggy brush if it's around here somewhere, or the cat hair brush. I don't know if I see it.
I don't see it.
Yeah, no, it might have fallen on the floor. But you cut these, all of these little loops. This is just a little bit faster way to needle bind it, but this part is a little bit more time consuming. Is it on the floor right there?
Can't see it.
No. Anyway. But once you cut all these loops, then you can go and brush it. And it'll look like this. I mean, you don't want to be too violent when you do it because you could pull your thrum completely out, but mostly when you're brushing over, you're pulling both at the same time, and it just makes it tighter. Some fuzz will come out, and you can trim it on the end, but save that fuzz to create new yarn. But anyway, so I'll show how to do these, but these are thrummed. But the thing is, you're introducing a lot of thickness to the mitten that wasn't there before. So whatever you're making is going to need a lot more stitches than normal. So this would normally be way too big for my hand. And it's actually only to here. You can see there it's like this much too much, but it's because of the fuzz in there. That's why I need it. And I don't have enough yarn of either this one or this one to finish them, so they are just going to be really fluffy wrist warmers. Yeah. It's almost the same difference you would make if you were going to felt your mittens. You kind of want to make them too big so that when you felt them, they kind of shrink down to fit. It's very comparable to that size difference. So it looks like it's massively too big, but it's actually not. It would be like uncomfortably tight otherwise. And then I usually do one round without thrumming. You can see the thrums in there, and those little flecks kind of pop through. If you don't want the flecks to show, you just got to pull really, really tight, and they will disappear. But I kind of like the flecks. Anyway, so we'll show that one day. So you got stuff to look forward to. I'm going to turn this back onto Karl, if I don't mess up the gimbal because the microphone is pulling on it. And then we'll get to the rest of your questions. But now we got some Nalbinding in before we went we're already way over time, but drunk Karl is kind of fun asking questions. Okay, so now I'm done playing with yarn. See, I do like the idea of Vikings riding reindeer, though. I think that's very Birkebeiner type thing. Stargota doesn't have the horizontal line of the A, no, but we assume it's an A because of the gate thing. So that one's a little bit more. We're back to the orthography. The goat ate the horse. You got to read the chat. It's quite funny. Next question, if I can zip to it. Apparently more people are with you on the absolute hating of the bird flute. Or ocarina, would you call it?
Every guide hates them.
Every guide hates them, yeah.
Try playing that sound near Holger one day and see what happens.
Yeah. Cute bird whistle, where did it come from? This one was actually not from the Hungarian, this one was from Russians that were visiting. The monastery ladies that come, but they go to the medieval market, not the Viking market.
Yeah.
So
Medieval people will just have to suffer through it, but it
Yep.
didn't exist in Viking times, which I'm perfectly happy with.
There's still water in here, no? Okay. So they were the ones that made those. Kaya, serious question. Have they found any semi-perverted? Yeah, we're on overtime and I'm talking too fast. Serious question. Have they found any semi-preserved Viking age hairstyles in burials? I don't know if they're from the Viking age, but I know of a few.
No, I don't think they have any from the Viking age.
I think
You
from
have
one.
the Swabian knot.
No, not the Subian knot. That's before.
Yes, that's well before.
Yeah.
I don't think they have anything from the Viking Age, but you can get something from the iconography, the depictions of humans.
Mm.
So one thing when you commonly see when it's
Go
just
this way.
when you are absolutely sure it's hair, and how to decide what if something in Viking art is hair or a hat is kind of difficult. But something you very often see is women with long hair, and then the hair is knotted somewhere behind their neck area.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
That's very typical find in their depictions of hair. But I don't think they have any bog finds or glacier finds or anything like that from the Viking Age. So preserved hair would really take something.
That one, if you can see it there, I can't tip the thing over. The red hair one, anyway. That one is the one I was thinking of because they do actually have that on display in a museum, and someone tried to recreate it. It's basically you pull the top of your hair and just braid it long, and then you start braiding the bottom on its
And
own, and then you wrap one around the other. But that's that one. That's not the Subian knot. The Subian knot's the thing that's up at top here, which holds amazingly well without having any rubber bands or anything,
but
actually.
can't you see there where it's from?
Yeah, I was trying to find the actual one, but it's a matter of Googling in a hurry.
Googling in a hurry is half of my job.
Viking Age. Museum hair. Maybe if I do that. A lot of the ideas that we get also come from the little figures, the figurines that you find. Is it an
Yes.
all-bound hat or are those cornrows?
This is the thing, because if you find actual hair in
This
an
one.
actual hairstyle, that's absolute evidence. You can't argue with it.
So
But
it's this
every
picture, if you've seen before.
every depiction will
Yeah.
have different interpretations. It's kind of a funny thing because a guy who used to sell us T-shirts with Thor with a horned helmet, he actually made a very good point when he was criticized for this. And that is, on every depiction where you're absolutely sure it's a helmet, it has horns on it.
Yeah.
The point is that it's a matter of definition, because there is a lot of depictions of people with what's clearly a nose guard on whatever the hell they are wearing on their head. But because there are so few finds of helmets at all from the Viking Age, a lot of people argue that these are not helmets, they are hats. My personal opinion is that if a depiction shows a nose guard, it's definitely a helmet, a metal helmet, not a leather helmet, not a hat. Because what would a needle-bound nose protection actually do?
I have to look up the Turku one. I was thinking maybe that was the one I was thinking of, but that's just after the Viking Age. Nella pointed that one out. There's a full hairdo in Turku, but it was just after the Viking Age.
Turku.
Yeah. Let's see. That was. I have to look that one up. I was trying to find it real quickly. On the computer.
But where is Turku?
Where's the Turku Castle? No, I have to. Finland. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that would tell you close to nothing about Viking hairdos. Because if you find hair in Finland, it would be a completely different culture and language. It wouldn't be Viking.
Karl from Albert, would you try doing migration or Vendel stuff?
Try doing what with it?
Would you try doing some migration Mendel stuff? Clothing, I'm assuming, or in the weaponry, everything. From the Vendel Age, it's just before Viking Age, isn't it?
Yes,
like barely before, but
it's a matter of
there's like
kind
a slight overlap.
yes, but there isn't a big cultural shift between the Vandal Age and the Viking Age.
No.
It's not like people go to raid the monastery at Lindisfarne in 793 and then they basically decide to change everything about their society. But the problem is that everything is fluid changes. So from migration to Viking and from Viking to early medieval, every change is fluid. So if we are reenacting Viking, we kind of have to set these limits as hard.
Yeah.
We have to have evidence from before this point to call it Viking. If we have evidence from right after this point, it's early medieval, and we can't really use it. Because if we accept fluidity, then we also have to kind of accept Viking nuclear weapons. Because there is a fluid change from the end of the Viking Age up until Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
So there isn't really any kind of watershed moments
Southwest
like
one.
in civilization when you go up an age and everything changes and everybody changes their clothes and so on. That doesn't actually happen in history. So you kind of have to operate with positive proof. There has to be something to argue for the idea that this happened before 1066 or after 793. That's your bracket. That's your Viking Age. If it happened right after, with some things, I can kind of accept the argument. But the argument has to be founded on basically common sense. So buildings kind of like the stave churches probably existed in the Viking Age. Because the alternative is that the early medieval people just completely invent a new building style. They pull it out of their ass, so to speak, to build the stave churches. And that is just after the Viking Age. And the other way around, you have the grindbygg that existed before and after the Viking Age. So either you have a building style that was invented twice by the same people at the same place and not by anybody else otherwise in the world, or you have a building style that is just continuous and you just don't have any finds from the Viking Age.
By the way, you have to read the chat later. There's some funny stuff in there. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But read the chat; it's hilarious. Nella says television movies. But this is back to the snow thing when you asked about how snow is dangerous. I will point this one out. Television and movies show snow most of the time as cotton fluff, but not as something that can hurt you rather seriously. Yeah, like when it first starts to melt, you can get a crust on the top of the ice, and if you fall, it can actually cut up your leg. I've had that happen as a kid anyway. When you walk through the snow and your boot goes down and your pant leg goes up and with the snow and it just scratches, that kind of thing, or falling on ice and things.
Don't run around in the snow naked, woman.
Just saying, I agree with her. Let's see, and then there's a lot of fun conversation about whips in here. Raymond, and when you swing the whip, you must have a red planter on your head. When it comes along, you must whip it. You have to read the chat after. It's funny. There's a whole thing about Nalbinding nose guards. I love this chat. Okay, but we're going to scan for questions here. Bjornar says, Norwegian musician Øyvind Sunde presents a theory that the Vikings invented Gamalust. Not sure about the sources, though. The song was fun.
Not Øyvind, Øystein.
Øyvind Sunde.
Øystein
Sunde. Unnskyld, Øystein Sunde.
I'm familiar. He has a lot of funny shit about the Vikings, but I don't consider him to be a primary source.
Yeah. There's another comment about the cold. At any time we get a really cold weather, we have youngsters ending up dead because they can't comprehend how dangerous cold is, so clubbing and skimping clothes. Yeah, that happens in Minnesota as well.
It happens here too, which is mind-blowing because we have it every year.
More importantly, did Vikings have a sense of humor when they cut the cheese? That's a question. You have to answer it. Oh, it's so worth overtime.
The Vikings
Santa was good. Maybe I should do Secret Santa.
The Vikings clearly had a sense of humor. There is a lot of funny shit happening in both the sagas and the Eddas. I don't know if I would have exactly the same frame of reference to the concept of cutting the cheese. Probably not. And the Vikings' humor, not always, but most of the time, it seems a little bit more refined than fart humor.
Oh, this one. Anne says most recently in chat that what would be a good source to know more about the Vikings? I would say The Children of Ashenelm.
Yeah, if you want the basics.
From Neil Price. The basics that covers just about everything, like textiles, burials, where they travel to.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
like the
it's not
Bible.
like a textbook either.
It's a
It's
very good
fairly
place to
easy.
start. If you read that book and you kind of understand it, you can operate with that as a start to learn everything else.
The Children of Ash and Elm by Neil Price.
Yeah.
It's really good. I've actually gone through that one 4 times, and I still reference back to it because I just can't do textbooks. But that one was very digestible. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back into the older chat here. I've heard of Skier, says Max. It's like a yogurt from Iceland. I tried it once and it tastes really good, so creamy and delicious. Skier we have here as well.
Yeah, no, it's Icelandic. It's also yogurt. The thing with
I think it's disgusting.
the thing with Icelandic people is that everything they do, people think is Viking. So, for instance, the Eggisjalmar is from an Icelandic book, so obviously it's Viking. Well, no, it fucking isn't. The Icelandic people just like magic.
And then Anne points out An Early Meal. That's the name of a book. An Early Meal. That's the one by Daniel Serra, where he can't. He takes things that were made in or heard from in the saga, different things that he learned, and he applies recipes to it that he knows the oldest that he could find, but it may be after the Viking Age, and he provides sources what he can. But what I like about that book is he explains where he's gone into theory.
Yes,
and where it's actually fact. But
read this book and it uses sources, not his conclusions.
no, but in yeah, that's what I mean. He writes both of them. What he
because one example is that he has a whole chapter about sausages.
Yep.
And it's based on one reference in one saga to somebody really liking somebody else's cauldron snakes.
Yes.
Which he interprets to be sausages. He might very well be right about that.
Yeah,
the Vikings might very well have had sausages.
But he's very clear about it in the book.
Yes, that's the point.
Yeah.
Read his sources.
Yeah, because say
from that sentence he ends up with a complete recipe on how to make Viking sausages. So there is a lot of extrapolation going on from the actual source.
Yep. So he will have it in like the introduction to the recipe. This was mentioned. Now I'm taking a more modern interpretation. I can go back to the 1300s maybe or something, but he will very clearly state where he's into theory.
And his book is completely fine. It's just that as soon as somebody says, well, Sarah says that this is Viking food. It's like, yeah, but read the whole thing.
So one thing that Anne says that he points out in there is that skyr would have been would have been important type of food during the Viking Age, as it was a good way of storing milk.
Yes.
So that would.
But there is a lot of common sense that isn't common sense for 100 years before it becomes common sense.
Yep.
So that something would be sensible to do isn't an argument for that it was actually done. And actually done is the gold standard here.
Yeah. Now back to the fur thing. Nella points out quite well. I don't think it is debatable if they knew how to make furs. It's more of a question of if they wore them or only used them as covers or blankets. I think that's a very good point.
That's correct. The Vikings knew how to make furs, and furs were one of their main export articles. So it would be odd if they didn't use them as clothing. But we need evidence for them using it as clothing. I would love to have that, but this is one of the places where I wear a fur when I am being a Viking, because I think it is so bleedingly obvious that I must have done, even without evidence. Because if I didn't have the sheepskin across my shoulders, in minus 20 degrees, I would actually freeze to death. So I think I must have.
I see that the chat, it jumps through every once in a while, so I might be mixing. All of a sudden, I realize I'm much further down up the chat than I thought. This one was from your sister, so naturally it's really good. No, I just have to find it. It was something like, what was the thing that annoys you the most? I just have to figure out where I saw that now. About the Viking Age, I'm assuming it was. Kaya. Karl, what myth or misunderstanding about the period annoys you the most? And then she's got a little laughing emoji or a sweating emoji.
It's two that equally annoys me. It's the two extremes that people go to, and the reason it's annoying is because it kind of hits almost everybody in the reenactment community. They go to one of two extremes. Either Viking society was super good and extremely progressive, and everybody had a jolly good time, or the Vikings were super brutal murder machines that the rest of Europe rightfully should fear and grovel to. Both of these extremes are idiotic. The truth is somewhere in between, but people just can't see that. So keeping an open mind without rose-tinted goggles, or
He likes it.
an idea of superiority. If you manage to try to look at them for what they actually were, that is a lot more valuable than the two extremes. But you see the two extremes in basically everybody's assumptions about the Viking Age. But if it is one simple thing that really drives me up the bloody wall when it comes to representation of the Viking Age, and by the way, every other pre-1600 civilization, is that nobody seems to fucking understand what the shield is for.
By the way, Karsten says thank you for the recommendation on the microphones. They just picked up a pair of the
Rode.
the Rode wireless go-to, but he got the Pro version, so that's better than ours. So I'm kind of curious now. You're going to know more than we do. But yeah, no, I'm pretty satisfied with them as long as they're compatible with the phone, which they are now since iPhone has got a new cord, or they're no longer using Lightning. Anne says the one thing you need to say, Karl, is "Je ne parle français." I do not speak French.
Yeah, but I get the same effect by saying non habla español.
They're just gonna look at you and God, that old man is funny.
Non habla el lingua de dego.
She also wanted to know if anybody knows of a good medieval Viking actually market in Belgium. I'm not familiar with their market circuit there though, but I know we have fighting reenactors that come from Belgium, so they must have something.
Well, we actually have a Njardar Viking log in Belgium.
Oh yeah, Sven Vandenberry makes really good shoes. He was in a Njardar. Wasn't he the one that was setting that one up?
Yeah, I think he is in charge now.
Yeah.
But the way his father explained the Viking community in Belgium is that every time somebody has a disagreement, they make a new Viking community. So now you have about as many Viking communities as you have Vikings in Belgium.
Mm.
But some of them have to be good. But I kind of feel that I have to recommend Sven Vandenberg and Njardar Belgian Vikings.
Sven Vandenberry. I'm not probably. Yeah, just.
Van der Boere.
Yeah. Burie. Yeah. Just so that they can look him up. But he makes really nice shoes, by the way. And I believe he has quite a bit of a waiting list. But
that guy is...
he made you gloves that... You know.
Yeah, but that was back when he was a kid.
Yeah.
I talked to him once after he became a grown-up. And he is even more strict on authenticity than I am.
Mm.
So he is the guy that I will occasionally pat on the shoulders and go, I might be able to calm down a bit. And that's not something that happens often.
See, I'm just scanning through to see if I got the questions out. If no salt, how do the Vikings preserve food? That's a good question.
You can smoke food and you can dry food.
Oh, you got Nella and Raymond's suggestion, yeah. And Albert too, everybody got into that one.
That's two ways of preserving food without actually rock salt.
And then Lindsay chimes in, think about how lutefisk is preserved.
Yeah, the Vikings almost certainly didn't have lutefisk because it requires caustic soda and I probably wouldn't have access to that.
You gotta read the chat. Then Raymond pipes in, I tried smoking fish, but I couldn't get them into my pipe. There's so many comments in here. You got to read the chat. It'll be available, and once the video has been out for 24 hours, then you can see the chat again. Let's see.
But the Vikings were familiar with salt. There is at least one myth that has directly to do with salt and producing salt for sale. Salt was considered valuable, but I don't know if everybody had access to imported salt. And I don't know if they actually had to, because if you get enough salt in your food anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Nella says the smoking to preserve is a lengthy process. Just smoking for flavor takes a few hours. So when you think up in Lofoten, for example, where they have all the fish anyway, and they're kind of like out in the sun kind of thing on these racks and smoking them that way.
No, that's dry fish.
Okay, that's dry fish, yeah. Because then we had the smokehouse that they tried to make in the village, which we still kind of have, but we haven't used it.
No, she's right. If you want to smoke food to preserve it, it takes a long time.
But would they have had
if you have a very limited amount of fish and you have an enormous amount of wood, it's still worth doing.
Because it would preserve it. But would they have used a smokehouse like the one that we had some people make in the village out of the rocks and things and put a door on it and a roof?
I would say almost certainly yes.
Yeah, it's a tiny one, but it can smoke quite a bit of fish.
Because in addition to smoking it, that is giving it the smoke taste, it dries it out. Yeah. So it's a quicker way of drying it, and you can also do it when you are in a wet climate like Gudvangen.
Albert also points out, by the way, to the salt thing, that there's a reason it was worth its weight in gold at the time.
Yeah. Which makes it dubious to me that somebody would actually spend the resources of handing out salt to every peasant in Norway. I don't think that was actually done. So I think most of them got their salt through natural ways by eating seafood.
You gotta read the chat. There's some fun stuff in here. Like this one, for example, Lindsay says
enormously overtime now.
Yeah, we're enormously overtime. I'm just checking for any last questions. But Lindsay says dried fish makes good. Come when I call cat treats. Only way I've ever found to train a cat. You got something you want to add to that?
No, I occasionally buy it as snacks, and I have to share with Selje, because first he isn't really that interested. He will take one bit and then he will just drool all over it for half an hour.
That's bag number one.
But Selje will happily eat it. So when I eat dried fish, I have Selje sitting on my lap and stealing pieces. Every time I have a piece, I have to give one to him, or he gets really insulted.
Anne's got a quick question, actually, because if you're not familiar with it, what is migration? When you hear migration, what are we referring to?
What you are referring to is the period of time after the collapse of the Roman Empire, before the rise of the Vikings. When you have groups of people coming in from the east, like the Visigoths and the Vandals and these guys, and they basically displace other people. So you end up with a period of time where everybody is moving around like crazy in Europe. The Franks that gave their name to France come in at this period and take over the Roman province of Gaul and turn it into France, so to speak. There is a lot of moving around, and it's a it's like the opposite of the Pax Romana. In the Pax Romana from Emperor Augustus and another 200 years on, you have peace in most of Europe because it's under the Roman Empire and you don't really fight yourself that much. But when the Roman Empire collapses, this structure goes away and you have everybody fighting everybody for about 300, 400 years.
Lindsay put in there, I thought Icelandic things were closest we had to Vikings, ? So since they were fairly isolated?
Yes, but the thing with isolated people is that they also evolve and they come up with new shit. It's like a couple of years ago, about 10, 15 years ago, there was a type of chair that was super popular in the Viking community because I thought it was Sami. And if something is Sami, it's obviously 1,000 years old because the Sami hasn't made a new discovery in 1,000 years, which is ridiculous on the face of it. This chair turned out to be an African birthing chair from North Africa and from the 1700s. But people think that isolated people are unchanging. So Icelandic as a language is very close to Old Norse, but it's not identical. There are differences, because 1,000 years of Icelandic people talking to other Icelandic people changes their language. They don't have to talk to foreigners to change their language. That would make it happen quicker. But just because they are talking to each other, their language shifts from Old Norse to Icelandic. I have to say that I have struggled to tell the difference between Icelandic and Old Norse, but there is a difference. It's hard for me to pinpoint as a Norwegian unless I have them both standing right next to each other talking. Then I can say, okay, that guy is speaking Old Norse and that guy is speaking
Oh, you have to read the chat.
speaking Icelandic. But I can't really. The difference is noticeable, but not enormous.
Storgård. It's just, you gotta read the chat.
And,
But yeah, sorry.
for instance, when it comes to the Egilshjalmar, the Egilshjalmar shows up, well, the word is mentioned in the saga of Beowulf, which would be written in Old English about people living in Denmark and whatever, back in the medieval times. Maybe it's even older. But when it's mentioned in the saga, in the story of Beowulf, it's very obviously a helmet we are talking about, not a symbol. Then the symbol turns up in the 1700s Icelandic magical manuscript called the Egilshjalmar, with a drawing of the symbol. And then people decide that this drawing obviously has to be Viking because it's Icelandic and it refers to something from the Viking Age. The problem is that the Egilshjalmar is so close, it's basically identical to typical Viking, typical Christian magic. Christians, if they are true Christians, shouldn't be doing magic, but they do it anyway. That's why you have the Svarte Boka, the black books that basically contain magical rites for Christians. A lot of it has to do with walking around the church at Christmas Eve and then staring into the northern light or some stupid shit like that. But this is a symbol that apparently does shit. But it has nothing to do with the Vikings. This is Christians playing with symbology and magic.
PJ, by the way, this was quite cool. Not the question though, but PJ Lightning is an author, as you know, and writes fantasy books. PJ writes, here's where I introduce the dragon you helped me to name, and I'll put it in the next comment. It was a little while ago, maybe 6 weeks ago or so. PJ was asking about the name of a dragon. And then she says,
it's longer time.
yeah, no, and so PJ writes the quotes, your name is Selje. It sounds like Slayer or Sklajur, if I'm saying that right. The dragon replied, the meaning is other. It means oath sworn. Cheryl could hear the difference, but could she say it? So that was the whoever, I forget who came up with the name of the Selje, but that was anyway. So you know who you are. But that was quite interesting to see. So now you're forever in PJ's books. Okay, I think I got through all the conversation, but oh my God, read chat. There's the whole thing about Storgård. Why doesn't it say Storgårda? Why doesn't the first day have a thing on there? And then it's because the O is to symbol the pyramid and the sun and the good god Ra, and there's only one Ra. And then Kaya says O with A with a circle over it, which is pronounced O. And then Raymond writes, Storgård would be the store goat. That is the goat who sells you yarn for Nalbinding. And then Kaya says, oh yeah. So I mean, they're completely. But I like that we're this massively overtime and there's still 25 people online. Anyway, but I gotta go and feed the guy. He drank the whole bottle, and I don't think he's had more than. Did you eat today?
No, I didn't have time.
Yeah, no, I gotta go feed him. Okay, so if I missed your question, but write it in the comments as well, because we're gonna have to go through the chats and the comments before making what he decides was the best question. Who wins the hat? The hat that I cannot sell in the store, but it is wonderful yarn and.
So if you ask me a question that
It's too modern. That's why.
is good and stumps me, you can look like a pussy.
It's a kitty cat hat. It's a kitty hat, but it's too modern style for the Viking age. But yeah.
Please explain to me the difference between pussy and kitty cat.
That'll be a bedtime story. Okay. Anyway, so I'm gonna put him to sleep. You're the best on YouTube today, says Bjornara. So see, he's sucking up to get a hat too. I'd like to see Bjornara wearing the kitty cat hat too. That might be.
Oh, he will happily do it.
We'll just make him one for Christmas next year.
Mm.
He can have his own. Okay, anyway, not for kids, says Raymond. All right, I have seen no reason why we can't be here at 6:30 next week, and hopefully I don't start early.
I'll show her my watch.
I don't know what it was. I saw the 6:16. I'm like, we're late. Okay, anyway. Bye. And I'll get that video posted sometime soon about how to make this as soon as I figure out how to publish it. But I think it's done. Not this, but the yarn. Okay, I'm going to end it. Have a good weekend, you guys.